It's Darkside Phil's Game of the Year Awards for 2012. The top 10 best games of the year. Honorable mention, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Well, here we go again. I'm sure there are going to be people who disagree with me, but the bottom line is, Black Ops 2 is another solid entry into the Call of Duty franchise that delivers 3 unique experiences, all adding up to a massive amount of gameplay and value for your dollar. You've got a fun single-player campaign that puts you on a balls-to-the-wall thrill ride with huge set-piece explosions, on-rail shooting, all kinds of crazy stuff. This time around, for the very first time, Treyarch decides to put in critical decisions during the campaign that can actually give you different endings to the game. It's the first time they've done this with the Call of Duty game, and it's a welcome addition because it does give you some incentive for replayability. At the same time, they also add in some odd side missions that really don't fit in with the campaign and seem kind of out of place. So I think it was an interesting experiment at something unique, but it really doesn't excel with everything else. Then you've got Zombies mode, a mode where you can play with your friends online and take on hordes and hordes of zombies in another unique map. This time around, it's several smaller locations all held up in this fog, and you have to take a bus to ride around them, and there's actually hidden stuff in the fog. It's really interesting. There's a couple different Easter eggs in there. You can find so many different items. It is just so much fun to play zombies with your friends. And then, of course, what everyone really buys the game for, the online multiplayer. It's there. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect. It's the same kind of multiplayer that you've seen from Call of Duty for quite some time, with very few new additions. Yes, there are some new guns. Yes, there are some new kill streaks and loadouts and such, but it's really not that big of a deal at this point. Bottom line is, if you are a hardcore fan of Call of Duty and you love that kind of gameplay, you're going to love Black Ops 2. But again, I don't think this is a game that really reaches outside the box much or really jumps out at you and says, wow, amazing AAA title. I didn't get the same feeling playing this game like I did playing Modern Warfare 2 several years back. It doesn't seem like that epic of a game anymore, especially because it's pretty much just more of the same. So Call of Duty Black Ops 2, a fun game. Once again, it was kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Very similar to the previous installments, and although it does have a couple neat new additions, it also has a couple fumbles. I think it's a great game, and that's why it gets an honorable mention for my games of the year. But now, back to the countdown, and my pick for number 4, Resident Evil 6. Oh boy, here it comes. I haven't even finished recording the audio for the video yet, and I can already feel the rumblings on the internet from the rabid fanboys of the Resident Evil series. Let's talk a little bit about Resident Evil 6, and really what I feel, unfortunately, has happened to the game this year. Capcom right now is in a pretty tough spot. They've had some shady business practices that have screwed over their customers this past year and a half to 2 years, and the customers are really not feeling very happy with the company. And so, when Resident Evil 6 was shown that it was going in an even more varied direction from the old survival horror formula, that it was going to be a more action-based third-person shooter, it was going to be more about high production values and great graphics and an interesting story rather than that classic, oh, you have to really do item management. You really have to worry about solving puzzles and doing this and that to open doors and going around and avoiding enemies because you have this tense feeling that you're going to die and there's a zombie around every corner that can kill you. It's pretty much gone from the Resident Evil series by this point. Now, I viewed Resident Evil 6 objectively when I played it. I pretended like it wasn't called Resident Evil. I said, I'm just going to play a game for a game and see what it is. And I did do a full co-op playthrough with John Rambo, which I really feel accentuated the experience for me and what made this such an enjoyable game. I actually have heard that if you play this game single player, that the AI partner is not as good as having a human. Sometimes they can get stuck, sometimes they don't pick up weapons properly, and therefore later on in the game, if you alternate between characters, certain characters don't have the weapons they should, and that's a major fault of the game. But I really feel that this game was designed to be played cooperatively, and John Rambo and I Had so much fun for 2 days in a row. We played this game in person, couch co-op. We had so much fun, and it's just, let's talk. The gameplay, very refined, more action-based now. No longer do you feel like a clunky tank. You can actually do side rolls and acrobatic flips and reverse and escape these zombies. It's nothing like the original games. The graphics are drastically improved. The production values on this game, the voice acting, the amount of not explosions, but the sound effects and the music and the design of the enemies, the big epic boss fights. There's a lot of fun stuff in this game that really shined. And the fact that there's 3 campaigns, 3 completely different stories that intersect at different points. And the cool thing, and this is what really pisses me off, is a lot of these mainstream media review the games before they're even released. I didn't see one mainstream review that mentioned the cross-play functionality of this game. That's right. If you're playing Resident Evil 6 with an internet connection and you enable the crossplay, during pivotal points of the gameplay, you will be intersecting and playing with other people who are playing Resident Evil 6, because you'll have these groups of characters who are meeting up for the first time, and maybe you'll have a cooperative boss fight. Maybe you'll have to snipe and help out one guy who's at a tough part of the game. This is so neat. This was such a cool thing for me. No one mentioned it in the review, so what the fuck, man? You know what I mean? You have to give credit where credit's due, and if you're playing a game before it's officially released and the crossplay functionality didn't work, how can you do a legit review of the game? And that really pissed me off. But then after completing all 3 lengthy campaigns, the game gives you a 4th unlockable campaign with Ada Wong that finally ties up all the questions of the story and gives it a definitive, interesting ending. Oh yeah, and I didn't even mention the Mercenaries mode, which if you play with a friend is insanely fun, has a lot of replayability, is addicting, has unlockables. This game has everything about it as an action-packed, content-filled AAA title. So why are so many people criticizing the game, panning it, saying it sucks? Why is there this mentality, this gang mentality on the internet that this game is bad? I'll tell you why. People don't like change, especially if it's a series of games that you've grown up with and you love, and it's something I understand there's a nostalgic feeling there, but you have to understand that sometimes things go in a different direction. Now, I can fully understand and appreciate people who loved the original Resident Evil games 1, 2, and 3 and are very upset that the series has now gone completely in an action-based direction. It's not the same as the original Resident Evil games. I completely understand that. But that's not a basis for you to say that this game is bad. Compared to all the other games this year, this game had amazing production values, a great story, fun, action-packed gameplay, a lot of gameplay, by the way, and replayability, had online gameplay with Mercenaries. For people to just write this game off because it doesn't play like the original Resident Evils are stupid, immature, ignorant, and it's irresponsible for any supposedly mainstream reviewer to say that this game isn't good simply because it doesn't play like the original Resident Evil games. That's preposterous, and I can't believe people take paychecks for putting that kind of filth out on the internet. The bottom line is, Resident Evil 6, if you ignore the fact that it doesn't play like its older survival horror predecessors, is an insanely fun game if you play it cooperatively. And I definitely recommend, if you do get this game, you must play it cooperatively, because I get the feeling that the single player experience is a lot less fun. But that being said, if you do play it cooperatively, you're going to get an amazingly fun experience out of the game. Don't listen to the haters. Don't listen to these stupid, rabid fanboys who are irresponsible and they spread their nonsense all over the internet. This is a fun game. This is a great game. Hell, I just put it as number 4 on my favorite games of the year. Do not miss it. I personally can't wait for the DLCs and for the next one, regardless of the fact that Capcom took massive flack and probably the game didn't sell as well as previous versions because of these assholes and their biased reviews. Don't believe it. If you like action games, if you like zombies and monsters and fun, this is the game for you. Check it out. Alright, up next, a game that allows you to play however you want and creates massive replayability makes the number 3 spot. Check it out.